So Man United have lost 2 of their opening 3 games in the Premier League for the first time since 2003-2004 season. The manager's walking out of press conferences. There's arguments with Pogba. The club has never been richer. In fact, it's the richest club in the world as it stands. I'm here with everybody's favourite Man United fan, Steve Howson. How you doing, mate?
I've had better days, if I'm honest, Flav.
Yeah, the last person you want to be talking to is me, isn't it?
Literally. When you text me this morning, my action was the message I sent you.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry to have to put you through this, but obviously a lot's going on at United, and you know there's no one better place to talk to because you seem to have a kind of inside track over what's happening at that football club. So, how bad is it? Is it that bad? To me, like you've lost 2 games. The performances weren't incredible, although you were decent for large parts of that game against Tottenham. Unfortunate, some might say. So, what's your feeling about the club at the moment?
I think we're in a mess, and I think if you looked at it really superficially, you could say, yeah, we beat Leicester. We was very poor against Leicester in places. Leicester dominated us at Old Trafford. We went to Brighton. It was one of the worst performances I've seen from the United team. I think if we were still playing this afternoon, we probably wouldn't have scored. And then we get beat at Tottenham at home. And yes, we was very good in the first half. It gave everyone a lot of encouragement, the performance that we put in the first half. But we still lost 3-0 at home to Tottenham.
Yeah.
But I think it's more than that. This has come from pre-season onwards. There's been a vibe about Manchester United. We've been terrible in pre-season, and you can excuse it as pre-season. Are they doing 2-a-days? You know, are you embedding some of these 16-year-olds that you're given the opportunity to? But now all of those World Cup players are back. You had as many World Cup players as we did. You've also had, some turbulent times at Spurs this week with what happened with the goalkeeper. Guy comes to Old Trafford and keeps a clean sheet, puts in a good performance. He's able to mentally get up there for it. So you've got to say, what is the problem at Manchester United? And I think it is the manager, but I also empathise with what's going on with the manager, and it is the players, but I also empathise with what's going on with the players. There isn't a one-answer solution to this. There's a many-faceted reason for why Manchester United aren't in a good place at the moment, but I think as United fans, we really should be worried.
I think a lot of people are saying that, from a Man United fans' perspective, that the manager hasn't been backed in the way that he would like, in the way that the fans would like. What does that mean? Because from an outside perspective, it looks like to me you spent £80 million. That's £80 million more than Spurs spent. If anyone's manager isn't being backed, it's Pochettino. What does that mean? What are Man United fans getting at there?
Well, I see that a lot. I see, yeah, Spurs didn't sign anybody, but when you look at the Spurs 11, do you see an obvious weakness in the Spurs 11?
Not really.
There you go. So I think trying to find someone that's going to improve Spurs, you're probably going to have to spend 100, 200 million perhaps to try and improve one position in that Spurs team. I think you've got a very good 11. I think your 11 is actually better than Manchester United's. When you look at the Manchester United 11, there's holes. There's problems at centre-half. There's problems at full-back, either full-back. I mean, I think Luke Shaw might be fixing one of those problems for us, which I didn't think was possible at the start of the season. And Jose Mourinho won't get any credit for that because that's the nature of the beast. There was an issue with balance on the right-hand side, which hasn't been addressed. Now, people like to say Jose Mourinho's had 400 million to spend. But has Jose Mourinho had 400 million to spend? How many of these signings are truly his signings? And even if he has signed centre-halves before, why can't he sign more centre-halves? If he signs someone and goes, you know what, I signed him, actually he's not as good as I thought, he needs more work, he needs more time. And the nature of the beast is that Manchester United aren't allowed a transitional period, clearly. Looking at the reaction of the press and even some of our own fan base, and obviously the opposition fan base. So if Pep Guardiola was allowed to sign a goalkeeper and replace a goalkeeper in 12 months, Pep Guardiola was allowed to have Kompany, Otamendi and Mangala as centre-half choices when he arrived at Manchester City, then bring in Stones, and then bring in Laporte. Why can't Jose Mourinho replace someone that he's signed?
Some Jose's not been... Lindelof and Bailey are his signings, is that not true?
They might be his signings. We don't know the truth, and I don't think Jose's ever going to tell you outright, I signed him and I didn't want him, for example. But what I'm saying is, if Pep Guardiola was allowed to replace people he's already, bought himself, then why is Jose Mourinho not afforded that? And that's more of a stance from opposition fans and the media. I see those being levelled at him. But from internally in the club, Jose Mourinho wanted Toby Alderweireld out. Toby Alderweireld supposedly wanted Manchester United. He goes to the board and says, get me Toby Alderweireld. They haggle over the price. And if there's no money there, sound. I've got no issue with that. If you say, look, there's no money there, you've got to make do with what you've got. Okay, fair enough. But then there's 100 million rumoured to be available if we wanted Varane. Now, Varane never wanted to come to United in the first place. So why is there 100 million available for Varane, but not 60, 65 available for Toby Alderweireld? Why is Ed Woodward saying, I don't think Toby Alderweireld improves us too much, when he clearly would? But we've got extra money available for someone who's likely to be a bit more of a shirt seller or have a sell-on value. What makes Ed Woodward this transfer genius?
Well,
the previous summer we didn't sign Perisic, and I think United was trying to play 3-5-2 throughout the whole of last summer's pre-season. And I think the reason for that is we were going to slot Perisic into that. As soon as the transfer window closed, we didn't see 3-5-2 again till Christmas. And I'm certain that the reasons that we was playing that formation, trialling that formation, getting players used to that formation, was because we was going to bring Perisic in. But again, Perisic didn't have the shirt selling capability, and we haggled over a couple of million. Exactly the same thing that's happened with Alderweireld. But at the same time, we're tickling the nuts of Antoine Griezmann, who's going to go for no less than 100 million. So why is money available for those who are going to sell shirts, but not those who are going to absolutely improve the team? Now, Paul Pogba gets added into the lump sum of how much Jose Mourinho spent, and he should do it. He arrived on his tenure. But Paul Pogba himself said this was a deal that took 2 years in the making. That was when Moyes was still in charge at Manchester United, that deal started. So this isn't necessarily a Jose Mourinho signing. And I have to wonder with the likes of Sanchez, was that a Jose Mourinho signing? We don't really know. The only ones you could say for definite is probably Matic and Lukaku. Aside from that, the fact is we don't know who Jose Mourinho signings is. The fact that we even have this conversation means that Ed Woodward is sticking his finger in the pie far too much for a guy that's a financial expert. Jose Mourinho is the football expert at Manchester United. He should be the guy that picks the team.
Let's talk about Ed Woodward then, because he seems to be the brunt of the ire of a lot of Man United fans. And it's like, he hasn't backed the manager. Has he backed the manager? What's his involvement in the running of the football club? So just a little background for people that don't know, because I don't really understand it as well, is how has he arrived at the position of power that he has at United? What was his route to that?
Well, Ed Woodward was a banker. He was an investment banker, someone that dealt with mergers, acquisitions, and that kind of stuff for JP Morgan. At the time of the acquisition of Manchester United for the Glazer family, Ed was the guy that basically liaised with them to make sure the deal went through, advised them, and helped push the deal through. So when they bought the club, they installed him as a director, as someone that they trust. He was initially given a job in terms of sales and sponsorship, which you could say he excelled at. The club revenue went through the roof, but I don't know if that's because of Ed Woodward or because, one, we're Manchester United, and two, every single Premier League club revenue has gone through the roof because of the new TV deals. I don't know how much involvement you could really lay at Woodward. In 2012, he was elected to a proper member of the board. And then in 2013, when David Gill stepped aside at the same time Sir Alex Ferguson retired, he was promoted to CEO. Now, at that time, you could argue that Sir Alex Ferguson was not just the football manager of this club, but he was the director of football, and he was a man that had the vision and the say of everything that was going on at this football club, because it had grown from a relatively small club to what it is now, not in world football in the 80s, to the behemoth that it was in 2013 when he stepped aside. Sir Alex Ferguson was in effect a director of football that gave a team talk, rather than what you would call a head coach or a manager nowadays. Ed Woodward quickly became responsible for transfers in a way that perhaps David Gill was before him. Now, there's a couple of examples that I'd like to use for people to show you that Ed Woodward getting involved has been a negative thing for Manchester United. So, in 2012, Manchester United drew the league with Manchester City, and we lost on goal difference, and Fergie said, I need more goals in this team. So he goes to David Gill and he goes, get me Robin Van Persie. Robin Van Persie, at 29 years of age, injury prone, is going to have no resale value, and it's probably going to cost a significant amount of money for, like we said, a potentially injury prone 29-year-old from a rival. David Gill didn't say to him, and he would have been well within his right to say to him, you've got Wayne Rooney, you've got Hernandez, you've got Welbeck, and you've got Berbatov. Why am I signing you another striker? You can't play five at once. David Gill didn't say that. David Gill went out and he bought him Robin Van Persie and delivered Manchester United our 20th league title. You could argue the same thing that happened in 2006 when we signed Michael Carrick. We had Jemba, we had World Cup winner Cleberson, we still had Scholes, we still had Giggs, we had a packed midfield, and Fergie went, I want Michael Carrick. He delivered Michael Carrick and we delivered a title. So when Ed Woodward's getting involved, Jose's probably got a system in his head and a plan in his head. Last summer that might have involved Ivan Perisic. This summer it might have involved Toby Alderweireld. We saw in the Tottenham game this weekend, Phil Jones was an absolute walking mistake. If you go and watch the goals back again, Phil Jones is hugely at fault. He loses Harry Kane. It's a great header from Harry Kane for the opener. But Phil Jones loses him and he looks like he's just spectating. He's not even a part of the game. For the second one, he's out of position near the halfway line for the first part, and then he tear-asses back to get into position, and he clatters Ander Herrera, who's about to clear the ball. Arguably at fault for both of those goals. Then his hamstring goes, and he has to go off the pitch, wasting a substitution for us. If Toby Alderweireld's in that position instead of Phil Jones, you could argue that both of those goals don't happen, and Manchester United might go on and win that game.
Just back on Ed Woodward for a second, though, because if you look at the books, you look at the kind of stock exchange, Man United are the richest club in the world. His job there is to secure the investment or the debt against the investment for the Glazers. You know, he's doing his job. I think the issue, and I'm completely sympathetic of it, because I hate this part of the game, is that none of these guys who run these football clubs, or all of our football clubs, are really about what happens on the pitch. It's about that bottom line of making as much money as possible. And he's never going to be usurped because some fans are angry with him. Or it's symptomatic of the way the game's gone. And Man United are almost like the shining beacon of commercialism in the game. Is that, we saw it at Arsenal as well, is that you don't have to win league titles anymore to be seen as a successful football club on a fiscal sense.
No, you're right, and that is the sad thing. And what the nightmare scenario, especially as a United fan, is that you don't have that at Manchester City. You have a guy that goes, I want to be the best football team in the world. Here's an unlimited budget to improve facilities, to expand the stadium, to improve the playing side, to invest in every part of the infrastructure of that stadium to make it happen. To a lesser extent, it's kind of happening now at Liverpool as well. They're identifying the problems that they've had on the pitch, they're expanding the stadium, they're improving the infrastructure, and everything is gearing up to them wanting to be the best in the world. Now, they've not got the resources that City have got to do it, but their goal is to be the best in the world. You're right, I think at Tottenham, at Arsenal, and at United, the goal is not to be the best in the world. The goal is to make the most money in the world. And that is completely diametrically opposed to what fans want. Fans want to be the best team in the world, yeah? We all sing that we're the greatest football team the world has ever seen. Even Middlesbrough fans do it, right? We want to be the best football team regardless. We don't care if we're making the most money. I don't give a shit. The Glazers have took over $1 billion out of Manchester United. $1 billion that if you'd have spent since 2005, that's $100 million every single season since 2005 on infrastructure and playing staff. United could be far and away stripping everybody now with the amount of titles that we could have picked up in that time. We could be so far away it would be embarrassing. But because we've been saddled with the debt that the Glazers have got, me and you might as well have bought them, mate, because that's how much they put in. They had nothing to put down. They just went and got it on a bank loan. I don't know what sort of credit rating you need to be able to borrow 600 million, but it's better than the one I've got, I think. So you got to look at, if football clubs like Liverpool and Manchester City, and to an extent Chelsea, I think lesser so now than it used to be, they only want to be the best. And you can't compete with people who are trying to be the best by trying to be mediocre or trying to do just enough. You have to try and go for excellence, otherwise you're going to fall well short of that. And I think that's been an issue with Spurs, why you don't pick up much silverware, why Arsenal have failed to get silverware recently, because they care more about the financial side. And I absolutely see Manchester United falling into the same trap right now, to be honest.
Yeah, I think with Chelsea and Man United and Arsenal and Spurs, they've all got, Man City, they've all got different kind of reasons for the way they run their business. I think with Chelsea, it was about Abramovich kind of creating a persona or a public image that meant that he would have less problems within the kind of weird skullduggery that happened in Russia. So I think he had a motive for that. I think Man City had so far to climb from where they were that the only way they were going to build a brand big enough was to spend hard and spend quickly and kind of reach a point where they become a globally relevant company. And Arsenal and Spurs have kind of found a way of doing it in a different way. Spurs have built a fan base from across the globe through playing football matches over there, and while it's nowhere near as significant as Man United and Man City and Chelsea, it's kind of a safer way of doing things. What's going to happen here? Because I'm looking at it and I can't tell what's going to happen at Man United. There seems to be so many breaking points here. Will it be? I mean, it certainly won't be the board who goes. So will it be Mourinho who walks, or will he wait, or will he fix this and turn this whole situation? What do you think?
I don't have the confidence that Jose can turn this around, because I think that if he was going to change his attitude, he would have changed his attitude already. When that window closed and the season started, Jose knew what he had to work with for the next 4 months. So I think if he was going to change his attitude, you'll roll his sleeves up and go, right, this is what we've got, let's make do with it. He would have done that already. Instead, he's sort of continued this sulking almost right into September now, and that's, I don't think, going to change. Even if performances on the pitch might improve, as we saw the first half against Tottenham, I was very hopeful, but ultimately it didn't come off. So I don't think Jose's got it in him to turn it around. I think you're absolutely right. There's more chance of me playing up front against Burnley this weekend than Ed Woodward going. I don't think the Glazers are going to be bought out anytime soon. Looking at the valuation of the club, and the New York Stock Exchange value's got us at like $4.5 billion. That's a lot of scratch. So I do think Jose Mourinho is the one that ends up walking away here, and that worries me because I don't think he has been backed, and I don't think he's been allowed to build the team in the image that he wants to make them. He's having to kind of make do with some of the signings of Van Gaal. He's having to make do with signings that Woodward wants for commercial reasons, and then he's got to deal with the scraps of the rest. Yeah. And I think if he's unable to do it with the CV that he's got and the record that he's proven, you can talk about third season meltdowns, but you tell me who gets 3 seasons at Real Madrid, apart from Zinedine Zidane winning 3 back-to-back titles. Who gets 3 seasons at Chelsea? Nobody. So you've got to look at the nature of the clubs that he's having meltdowns at. No one ever talks about the success that he has at Inter or the success that he has at Porto in those times when he did have something a bit more with a bit more longevity. You know, and he left Porto to go to a better place at Chelsea. He left Inter Milan to go to a better place at Madrid. I think Jose Mourinho would want to be in this for the long haul, and I think he might have walked already due to the limited circumstances that he's had at Manchester United if it wasn't for a club that I genuinely believe he wants to be at. But I think his attitude is still wrong. I think there's so much that's wrong with it, but I unfortunately think it's going to be him that pays with his job. And people that are demanding Zidane, yeah, cool, he's just won 3 Champions Leagues, but that Madrid is a dream team. Yeah. That is an absolute dream team. He's going to go from Varane and Ramos to Smalling and Jones, and he's going to find an absolute shock there, and he's not going to be able to play the same football that he played at Madrid. Just the way Jose's not able to play the same football that he played with Madrid at Manchester United, because we're not as good as Real Madrid.
Very true. All right, thank you very much, Steve. Thanks for your time. For your sake, as I'm quite fond of you, Steve. I hope that your season turns around. If you've got this far in to the video, obviously you're getting something from it. Please consider hitting subscribe. If you don't hit subscribe and you've watched it this far, then there's a chance I won't have a job. Like, I'm not doing this for a laugh. Ball Street doesn't exist for a laugh. You've got to hit subscribe if you want us to stick around. So please do that.